Elizabeth Bowen, CBE, June 7, 1899, February 22, 1973, was an Anglo-Irish novelist and short story writer. Life. Elizabeth Dorothea Cole Bowen was born on June 7, 1899 at 15 Herbert Place in Dublin and baptised in the nearby St. Stephen's Church on Upper Mount Street. Her parents, Henry Charles Cole Bowen and Florence, née Colley, Bowen, later brought her to Bowen's Court at Farahy, near Kildorrery, County Cork, where she spent her summers. When her father became mentally ill in 1907, she and her mother moved to England, eventually settling in Hythe. After her mother died in 1912, Bowen was brought up by her aunts. She was educated at Downe House School under the headship of Olive Willis. After some time at art school in London, she decided that her talent lay in writing. She mixed with the Bloomsbury Group, becoming good friends with Rose Macaulay, who helped her seek out a publisher for her first book, a collection of short stories entitled Encounters, 1923. In 1923 she married Alan Cameron, an educational administrator who subsequently worked for the BBC. The marriage has been described as a sexless but contented union. The marriage was reportedly never consummated. She had various extramarital relationships, including one with Charles Ritchie, a Canadian diplomat 7 years her junior, which lasted over 30 years. She also had an affair with the Irish writer Sean O'Fallon and a relationship with the American poet May Sarton. Bowen and her husband first lived near Oxford, where they socialized with Maurice Bowra, John Buchan and Susan Buchan, and where she wrote her early novels, including The Last September, 1929. Following the publication of To the North, 1932, they moved to 2 Clarence Terrace, Regent's Park, London, where she wrote The House in Paris, 1935, and The Death of the Heart, 1938. In 1937, she became a member of the Irish Academy of Letters. In 1930 Bowen became the first, and only, woman to inherit Bowen's court, but remained based in England, making frequent visits to Ireland. During World War II she worked for the British Ministry of Information, reporting on Irish opinion, particularly on the issue of neutrality. Bowen's political views tended towards Burkean conservatism. During and after the war she wrote among the greatest expressions of life in wartime London, The Demon Lover and Other Stories, 1945, and The Heat of the Day, 1948. She was awarded the CBE the same year. Her husband retired in 1952 and they settled in Bowen's Court, where Alan Cameron died a few months later. Many writers visited her at Bowen's Court from 1930 onwards, including Virginia Woolf, Eudora Welty, Carson McCullers, Iris Murdoch, and the historian Veronica Wedgwood. For years Bowen struggled to keep the house going, lecturing in the United States to earn money. In 1957 her portrait was painted at Bowen's Court by her friend, painter Patrick Hennessy. She traveled to Italy in 1958 to research and prepare A Time in Rome, 1960, but by the following year Bowen was forced to sell her beloved Bowen's Court, which was demolished in 1960. After spending some years without a permanent home, Bowen finally settled at Carbery, Churchill, Hythe, in 1965. Her final novel, Eva Trout, or Changing Scenes, 1968, won the James Tate Black Memorial Prize in 1969 and was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 1970. Subsequently, she was a judge, alongside her friend Cyril Connolly, that awarded the 1972 Man Booker Prize to John Berger for G. She spent Christmas 1972 at Kinsale, County Cork with her friends, Major Stephen Vernon and his wife, Lady Ursula, daughter of the Duke of Westminster, but was hospitalized upon her return. Here she was visited by Connolly, Lady Vernon, Isaiah Berlin, Rosamund Lehman, and her literary agent, Spencer Curtis Brown, among others. In 1972 Bowen developed lung cancer. She died in University College Hospital on February 22, 1973, aged 73. She is buried with her husband in Farahy, County Cork churchyard, close to the gates of Bowen's Court, where there is a memorial plaque to the author, which bears the words of John Sparrow, at the entrance to Street Coleman's Church, where a commemoration of her life is held annually. Legacy. In 1977, Victoria Glendinning published the first biography on Elizabeth Bowen. In 2009, Glendinning published a book about the relationship between Charles Ritchie and Bowen, based on his diaries and her letters to him. In 2012, English Heritage marked Bowen's Regent's Park home at Clarence Terrace with a blue plaque. A blue plaque was unveiled October 19, 2014 to mark Bowen's residence at the Coach House, The Croft, Headington from 1925-35. Themes. Bowen was greatly interested in life with the lid on and what happens when the lid comes off, in the innocence of orderly life, and in the eventual, irrepressible forces that transform experience. Bowen also examined the betrayal and secrets that lie beneath the veneer of respectability. The style of her works is highly wrought and owes much to literary modernism. She was an admirer of film and influenced by the filmmaking techniques of her day. The locations in which Bowen's works are set often bear heavily on the psychology of the characters and on the plots. Bowen's war novel The Heat of the Day, 1949, is considered one of the quintessential depictions of London atmosphere during the bombing raids of World War II.